You're listening to WCEG Network. We are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, speaking life into the community. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio, and also at WCEG Network. We would love to hear from you. It's really fun when Elizabeth and I can answer your questions live so that everyone can learn. Our phone number is 678-619-1402, and that's a call-in or a Skype number. And again, it's 678-619-1402. So just a reminder that these opinions that we're sharing today about immigration with our On the Border radio show are the opinions of myself, Audra Doyle, and also Elizabeth Garvish, and they're not the opinions of the WCEG network. So Elizabeth, we had just wrapped up the previous hour. We were talking about the new public charge rule, and I think I just shocked you on our break. I shocked myself yesterday when I printed this out. So I'm holding, if you're watching us on the internet, I'm holding the new instructions for Form I-944. This is the new form that we have to fill in for public charge rules. And the second question on here says, who must file Form I-944? You must file this form if you are filing Form I-485. It doesn't say if you are a family-based immigrant, or if you are a diversity visa lottery winner, or if you're a special immigrant. I do believe that this form has to be filled in for every single green card. I would love to be wrong. So immigration has said that these are the preview forms. They're not going to go active until February 24th. So between now and then, Elizabeth and I are going to really be working hard to validate and verify all of the information that immigration is giving us. Before we move on to talk about other stuff, the last thing that you need to know about this public charge, these new rules, are how many forms are affected by the new rules. Anyone who is filing in Form I-129 has to satisfy the new public charge inadmissibility rules. I-129 is for somebody who's just applying for a working visa. So this rule is related to that. And Elizabeth's face, if you can't see her, she's shocked again.
Okay, so we don't have to file that form for the I-129.
No, but the rules, I think, count for Form I-129. So there's going to be inadmissibility public charge questions on the I-129 form.
Okay,
so we're going to get a new form.
Someone's coming here to work, has a salary, but maybe has some of the, and
I wonder if it's for the employer or it's for the individual. So what if the employer wants to hire this person, but they have a bad bottom line? How is that going to shake out? Also, Form I-539, which is usually for students who are changing status, for visitors who want to extend their stay, they're going to have to file this form. Form I-601, which are waiver cases. And anyone who's filing Form I-864. Now, let's see, and Form I-485, as I disclosed before. So public charge inadmissibility, the takeaway for me is I want to file as many cases as I can before February 24th. We've already played this game before in October. Public charge, the new rules from our dear President Trump were supposed to go into effect on October the 11th. I filed, or maybe the 15th, I filed all my cases by the 11th. And lo and behold, that weekend, a court in the United States enjoined the Immigration Service. They said you cannot make these rules go into effect. So here we are again. The Supreme Court has said, oh, yeah, never mind, you're fine. You can do this, Immigration Service. So the new date for them going into effect is February 24th. The other quick little tidbit that has really rocked my world this week is about the new travel ban. We already have a travel ban for several countries around the world. The Supreme Court has upheld those travel bans. So I think that any sort of judicial challenge to the new travel ban is going to be extremely hard to win. Do you agree with me?
Yeah,
Elizabeth?
and also, so we have, there are waivers and people are getting through a lot of that, but Iran is targeted right now.
Yep. Nigeria, for me, has been a horrible development.
Well, this is true, but it's not as bad as you think with Nigeria. But Iran right now, people are applying for student visas, they're qualified or they have a job or whatever, they're showing up at the border, being turned back. There's been a lot of it's been really bad.
They're being held and detained for hours.
I mean, and then their dreams, their everything that they've been working for years to get here to study in a program, a high level educational program is gone. They're also E1 and E2 are gone for Iranian.
Yep.
So we have several cases that we're consular
mm-hmm.
processing that are family based. We have mm-hmm. that right now. I just don't know what to tell the clients.
Yeah, I just had to tell my Nigerian clients. We're in the middle of their cases.
And it's immigrant visa?
Yes, immigrant visas. So I have
a lot of marriage abroad?
Cases. Yes.
And they're abroad.
And they're abroad. Yep. And there's nothing we can do. They're not going to get done by February 21st. It just really stinks. There's the least that they can do if they're going to implement this travel ban is to adjudicate all the cases that are already in the system. So they've already been through the State Department. They've already been through National Visa Center. We're just waiting on the interview to be scheduled. And now we find out there's no way that Lagos, which is where the U.S. Embassy is in Nigeria, is going to be able to get through all those cases. So even people who, like my client, was still dealing with the National Visa Center, which is a step before the immigrant interview, there is no way that they're going to be finished with the National Visa Center and on to Lagos for their interview and approved.
Well, so this is just going to add a step for them because they're going to have to do the waiver.
And
so
I don't know. And isn't it a hardship waiver?
It'll be
what hardship can I show?
The way that it's been, well, if it's a U.S. citizen spouse,
mm-hmm.
That hardship to that U.S. citizen spouse.
Yeah, but that's everyone has that hardship.
Yeah,
so I'm wondering how hard.
I think if they're handling them the way they're handling the Iran and the other travel ban countries, they are able to get through those. Mm-hmm. You just go into administrative processing for many months, maybe some forever. But
yeah, I've had one.
So there's going to be significant delays.
Yeah.
You may eventually get through.
But will the marriage last? Will the marriage last for this couple being separated for so long? I think another thing for immigration lawyers, we've got to tell our American clients, you need to go visit or you need to try and find a way to keep this relationship alive. Because after all the months of separation, you finally get to the interview portion of the case and they're like, well, you haven't seen each other in 5 years. How is this a real marriage? As lawyers, we have to think like they think. And we have to see, is there a logic problem here? And if you're married to someone, how in the world can you keep that relationship going? Love is love. I think you're going to need more than that when you go to the interview. So
90-day
idea, 90-day fiance. A good idea would be definitely to go and visit. And I tell them it doesn't have to be their home country because even if they can't come to the U.S., maybe they can go to a lovely Caribbean island and go have a vacation with their sweetie in a third country. Take lots of pictures, see each other on a regular basis, document the relationship. You can't just throw up your hands and say, well, I'll just wait to see them when the case is finally approved. I think that is not going to work for you.
Yeah, so
Travel
it's true.
ban.
It's true. Every day, don't you just wake up and it's like, oh, there's something new. Or it's not just wake up, but it's like maybe in the middle of the day. Yeah, yes. It's like, what's going to happen?
Yes.
I mean, so we've seen, so we had, in October, we had this new policy on public charge. So that came through. It was enjoined.
We scrambled.
It was enjoined in the court.
Yep.
Went to the Supreme Court. They now have allowed for that policy to be implemented starting February 24th. A new form. It's for all immigrants. It's going to add at least 6-7 hours of work for each case. Do you have to, what about like children? I mean, we have to fill out this form for each, or is it for families? I'm not even sure. You know what I mean?
No, we're going to have to figure that out.
Because
whether we have to do a separate form for each person.
Like, because generally we're applying, if it's a family-based case, okay, that's fine. There's a petitioner and a beneficiary. Mm-hmm. If it's an employment-based case, then you have the petitioner as an employer. The beneficiary is the employee, and then all their family, wife, husband, children. So
children are not excluded and have to file this form. So there is a list.
Children are not excluded?
No. It says who is exempt from filing this form, and children, minors, are not on the list. So people who are a VAWA self-petitioner, so Violence Against Women Act, Special Immigrant Juvenile, certain Afghan or Iraqi nationals. So I think those are people that probably help the U.S. Armed Forces, asylee, refugee, U or T visa, which are trafficking or are victims of crimes, things like that. Those people are exempt from filing this form, but children are not on the list. Minors are not on the list. So it'll be a lot easier to fill out a form for a child because, of course, they have no credit.
Yeah.
And, of course, they have no assets and liabilities. Their parents are taking care of them. Also, some members of the U.S. Armed Forces could be excluded. But in general, I think if I have a 5-person family, I've got to send in 5 of these forms. Yes.
So
these days, it's hard to be an immigration lawyer.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, also... How many trees are we killing?
Tons.
This is ridiculous.
It's all paper. We cannot email this stuff to immigration. And honestly, when online submissions are available, I do not trust them.
Oh, right.
What do you think?
No, I don't do that. But
I mail all my cases in. I can track the
different
package.
agencies now, like Department of Labor, is basically going to become paperless, which is great. So we file online. We do get an approval that's a paper form, but eventually that won't be, which is great. They're making strides. USCIS, the mounds of paper that we have to file.
They're so far behind.
I remember an L1A visa, and we had to do it in duplicate. I had this.
Yeah.
Literally.
I've started weighing. It's 11-pound boxes for one case, 10-pound boxes for one case. It's outrageous. And I've noticed that my paper cost has gone up as a business owner because we're using so much paper.
We're trying to do we're trying to do paper less, not free of paper, but less paper.
Absolutely.
In the office.
We're not printing as
I
much.
don't print out, and I had a great idea that I would just have everything on my iPad. I could pull it up for the interview.
Oh, but guess what? You can't do that, Elizabeth. Why? What's the reason?
Because you can't have your iPad in the interview or your phone or anything.
Yeah.
I guess they don't want you recording. But I was like, oh my gosh, let's just, where are we in the world? And I almost sometimes I'm like, I'm not printing that out.
Yep.
I'm just, don't print it out. That's such a waste. I'm not going to do it. So...
And here I sit with all of my papers this week.
Sometimes you have to have paper.
You definitely do.
I like to read things printed out sometimes, but I'm just saying a copy that we're going to look at one time or just have 120 pages just in case we need it at the interview.
Nope.
I just don't think I'm going to do that.
And I also do a lot of duplicate copying where I put multiple pages on one just so I can have proof.
Yeah.
But I don't need to see every detail on that page.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to save the trees, but it's, they're not helping.
Yeah. So, so we've got the public charge. That's going to go into effect on February 28th. It's on February 24th, sorry. It's still a little bit unknown what's going to happen and how we're going to implement that.
Yeah.
We see a lot of issues going forward, a lot of bad denials. Officers are going to go rogue.
At the least, delays. I think that on-the-spot case approvals, when this first goes into effect, is not going to happen. Because the officers have to learn the forms too.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to be fully prepared to make a decision on the spot.
So the cost to immigrate to the United States is going to be very expensive.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So we are going to we've got public charge. We will most likely talk about this in our future shows, March or April.
Absolutely. Then we'll know more.
And so we're going to, and then the next thing that we've had, just like in the last week, with the travel ban, we already are banning, immigrants from seven other countries.
One is not Muslim. That's how they got that through.
Yeah. And so now we are going to ban individuals from 6 other countries, and those include Nigeria.
Yeah.
Did you already say?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'll just say Nigeria, Myanmar, Eritrea, Kyrgyzstan, Sudan, Tanzania. So these are, and there's different aspects of the ban, but it's basically going to, make significant delays in immigrant visa processing.
Let me tell you why this ban is so dumb. Everybody, the ban is dumb. Let me tell you why. Because they're barring, for example, in Nigeria, they're barring only immigrants, people applying for immigrant visas.
Yeah, it is dumb.
And they're saying, okay, if you're applying for a student visa, you can still get that. You can still apply for a visitor's visa. Non-immigrant visas are fine. Yes.
But you can't immigrate.
But you can't immigrate
So This is a security-related ban, so you're letting people come temporarily on temporary visas, but immigrants can't come.
Please tell me, historically, our terrorists have had what kind of visas?
Student visas.
Student visas, which are A-OK. For 2 countries, Tanzania and Sudan, they say, well, you can't do the diversity visa lottery anymore. That's a real national security problem. But you can immigrate in the other ways. You can get an immigrant visa, you can get a student visa, but no, that diversity visa lottery, there's just some real danger there. It doesn't make any sense to me. Can you please tell me what was their thinking on this? So, okay, so it doesn't make any sense to me why they have put the ban in place for certain visa categories and not all. If it really is a national security issue, how are people with temporary visas going to be vetted better when they have to supply less documentation than people who are applying for immigrant visas and have to provide police background checks from all the places that they've lived? They have to do fingerprints for all of that.
Yeah.
Much more detail with an immigrant visa.
Yeah, non-immigrant visa, you don't have to do any of that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep.
But you would think it might be the other way around.
Right. That they would, and okay, the underlying reason, so a White House official who refuses to be named said, the major reason is for national security, but the underlying reason for Nigeria is because so many people have come here as visitors and not gone home. But they didn't ban the visitors' visas. They banned the immigrant visas. I just, yeah. So that is my confusion. Maybe one day President Trump will enlighten me and explain to me why this ban is in place the way it is. Maybe not.
So interesting.
You just have to laugh.
Yeah.
And then you have to explain to your client who's already paid thousands of dollars, dedicated a year of their time to get through this process, why their case is not going to go forward.
So
not cool.
Travel ban.
Yep.
Public charge.
Yep.
These are all, let's just add, we're just like, I think my invisible wall.
Oh, yeah.
Is like this high.
It's over
It's like
head.
We're just adding blocks.
I don't think we really need a real wall anymore because this invisible wall has been very successful.
We don't need a real wall.
It's very successful.
Yeah, exactly. So the next thing, which is not really...
It's news.
Actually a couple like positive things.
Yep.
There's a little bit of, for an F1 student and a J1 exchange visitor visa, you come in and you have an underlying document called an I-20 or DS 2019, and that is that is the one that kind of, that's the document that shows your status. As long as that document's valid, you're eligible to stay. And you usually don't have a date certain on your I-94, your entry document. It's based on the underlying form, the I-20 or the DS 2019. So your status would be duration of status, DS. So for many years, they instituted years ago unlawful presence of bars, which would, if you had overstayed a certain period of time, like half a year, you'd be barred for 3 years if you went back home to try to get a visa or a green card. If you weren't eligible to file in the U.S., obviously, if you've overstayed, except for marriage to a U.S. citizen. If you overstayed 1 year, then it's a 10-year bar. So there'd been a little bit of a loophole in that the F and the J have a duration of status. The regulations say date certain on an I-94 card or a judgment of an immigration officer or a judge. So they've been able to, I've actually had people that overstayed on F and J. We were able to send them back home to get an immigrant visa if they qualified and they weren't subject to the unlawful presence ban. So that just went through. What Trump did was he instituted a policy that said, no, as of August, I think it was 2018.
I think it was 2018.
These F and J students are going to accumulate unlawful presence. So I sent one of my clients home, an F2. He's in the UK. And we've been trying to do his green card, and we've had some stumbling blocks, so he's still there. But it's not too bad to be in the UK, I think. But I tell him, I'm like, this is your adventure. Because his mom brought him when he was a child as F2. And I just tell him, I'm like, just have, a church is sponsoring. So I'm like, just keep the faith. Just enjoy your experience in Europe. It's going to be amazing. Travel, and he has family there, so it's okay. And I'm like, I'm getting you back here. I promise I will get you back here.
It's going to take time, but you can do it.
Well, we just had some issues with Department of Labor, so and then one little thing with Department of Labor, you're back to square one. So, so now, luckily, this F&J new rule was enjoined by a court in May, and now it's absolutely, there's a judgment to our favor. It's permanent?
I think so.
So I haven't read everything because this just came yesterday, but everyone was like, thank you, good news,
It
oh
is
my
good
gosh.
news. We need good news.
Yeah, so, some of those people like inadvertently overstayed and started to accumulate unlawful presence. Now they have some hope if there's an employment-based immigrant visa, or if there's a family member, maybe that's not a U.S. citizen, they can actually go home, or they could get an H-1B, or they could do so many things, and they can kind of fix their life instead of just being with the choice of you go home and you're banned for 10 years or you're stuck. So that little ray of hope is, we got a good judgment from someone, one of the district court judges. So that's a positive.
I want to jump in there and say something. As immigration lawyers, through our careers, before this administration, did you really ever have to go to the court and ask for an Article III court's help with your cases?
I just did go.
I know, but before the last
I never.
years.
Oh no, I became. Here, I'm going to tell you this.
Do it. Tell us. Yes,
I became an immigration lawyer, so I started to go to immigration court, and I actually did some family law, like pro bono, when I was a very baby lawyer. I was like, this is not for me.
I don't want to be in the court.
I want to be an immigration lawyer because I don't ever want to step foot into another courtroom ever again.
And we can work within the system. We can do our jobs very well within the immigration system.
Except for now.
And historically, we did not have to ask for the court's help. We did not have to go to a federal court and ask for help. And in the last 3 years, we have had to totally change our mindset.
Well, that's the only way that
we have had to get brave.
Yes.
And we've had to think outside the box and be nimble.
Yeah.
And pivot, as Elizabeth says. And so you just went to the court. Tell us about one of your cases.
Well,
Why did you have to ask for help?
We talked about this last week, but we had a multinational manager executive denied. So one lawyer filed it, got denied. I looked at the case, and he did a fine job. It should have probably been approved, but I mean, maybe I can clean it up a little bit. Maybe I can see where, there was something that the officer latched onto to really put that denial out there. So I cleaned that up. I repackaged. We refiled. Got a request for evidence. They accused us of providing false documentation, which is what they do. You provided false documentation, so that means all of your documentation is tainted.
Yes.
We can't accept anything.
Oh my gosh.
Denied.
I would be so angry.
So I actually got my client to, I was mad.
Good.
I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You have to. I said, we have to stand up and do this. We filed a federal court, and I got mentorship, and I got help, figured out, got admitted to the district court, filed the declaratory action, and the U.S. attorney was really nice. She just called, I think she just called USCIS, and they reopened it. I got one reopened, and I got one approval.
That's amazing.
And then, so now, the USCIS really wanted to keep this executive out of the country for some reason, and so now he's able to come grow his business, create more jobs. He's never going to immigrate.
Pay lots of great taxes.
He's never going to immigrate. Yeah.
Why would he want to?
Well, exactly.
What are we doing?
That's exactly
shooting ourselves in the foot.
I liken it to, I was just at a car dealership, and I've never walked into a car dealership by myself.
Yeah.
And I was with my kids, and we're like, oh, let's test drive or something. So the salesman was just so I don't know, just uptight, I don't know what was going on with him. And I literally, and by the end, he's like, we had a little, I honestly spoke, and I said, I don't think you really want our business.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to buy. But, and he got all mad. I feel like he got all mad, and his body cringed, and he was almost crying. I was I actually kind of after the fact, I was like, can I give you a hug? Because you really, there must be something going on. But anyway, but what I told the manager, after this experience, because I was just going to leave, and my friend was like, no, go tell the manager. And I was like, I don't want to get him in trouble, but
Right.
I never want to come back here ever again. I don't want to ever come here again. So if I left with this experience that made this, and this executive who is doing so much for America and creating all these jobs and creating revenue, and then we treat him like this, yeah, I don't blame him for not wanting to come back. He can go do his business somewhere else.
The other thing I think about is if he ever does get his green card, becomes a citizen, do you think in any way, shape, or form he is going to vote for the political party or the group of people that were so awful to him?
Well, I mean, and that's the reason why.
So all these new citizens coming through from all over the world, they're going to be voters.
Yeah, well,
within 3 to 5 years.
Well, do you know why they're trying to? Well, you know why they're. Well, that may be the answer. Is I feel like I think the current party
that way.
is coming from a place of fear.
Yes,
they are coming from. They're like playing to their base.
Mm-hmm. Where they want things to stay the same.
Be very afraid. You see what Trump does. I tell my kids, we have to focus on the positive. Like, we have to, because at the end of the day, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to do this. I'm like, no, but, we went and had pizza. We, went and played here. We did this. And, can't you be like, thank you, Mommy, for all that wonderful stuff we did? No, you're focusing on, the negative. I need you to focus on the positive. But what our administration is doing right now is be very fearful that a criminal alien is coming to get you. See this and that, but never highlighting the positives of these immigrants that every day we see. Do you think I'm going to be in a business where I'm bringing in criminal aliens that are going to kill people?
Absolutely not.
I mean,
I cannot believe the wonderful people that I've met by being an immigration lawyer. They're incredible. They're so talented. They're so kind. They're bringing their own cultures, which is just going to enhance our culture.
And not everybody's perfect. Not every immigrant's great. It's just, but they're.
We certainly have some stories.
And this is the thing. Focusing on this negative, coming from a place of fear, it's just never a good place. And the other thing, taking away humanity from people, naming them something that's a non-human name, and just it just allows people to kind of get this mob mentality and not really see things for the truth.
If you look at history, you see how that goes.
Yeah, and if you look at someone in the eyes versus we want all these people out, they're criminals, and a lot of that, there's different, our clients are a little bit different sometimes than maybe people that are coming in at the border, but everybody's a human being. And I think we talk about,
you have to start at that point.
We talk about that, and it's just I will fight to the end to help anyone I can. And I'm not saying
I operate from a value of fairness and a value that if the law says that they're qualified, they're eligible, then they deserve that benefit that I'm seeking for them. And it's not fair if you don't like the way they look, the way they speak, the way maybe their finances look different than what you expect them to look. That doesn't matter. If they're qualified on paper, the rule of fairness is you treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter what country they're from.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the immigration law changes have been happening. They're not happening by regulation where they're going through
it's called notice and comment, where Americans get to make comments about the new laws, and there's a discussion about whether that law is going to be good or not, or that regulation.
I mean, what's happening is a unilateral
rule by fiat.
Yeah, executive order.
Yep.
Policy,
memos,
implementation, memorandum. Not a lot of basis in law, but all of these. If we look at all of this, public charge, we don't want people coming here taking from us. Stay in Mexico asylum. We don't want people here coming and taking from us, basically. Travel ban. We don't want people coming here and taking from us, basically. So it's okay, the welcome mat is out. The wall is built. We get it. But I don't think everybody feels that way. Yeah. And of course, we value security.
Absolutely.
And we value, we don't want to have people come here and, I guess, take advantage. No one wants that.
Yeah, but the laws are already in place to protect us. So if we're interviewing a new client, we call it a consultation, and they say, well, I have a big criminal history back home, or they tell me, well, yeah, I've never had anybody tell me this, but if you find out that they're not qualified, immigration lawyers are not going to be filing those cases. The ones that I know. There's always some bad apples, but we are not going to be filing cases for people who are, we call it inadmissible. They have a crime of violence. They've been convicted of domestic violence, things like that. They're not going to be coming into the U.S. Because immigration laws are already set in place to weed out that sort of thing. Then, if they lie on their forms, immigration goes back several times and checks them out again. Throughout the period that they have a green card, they still have to do a great job and not have bad moral character and not have an aggravated felony. Then when they ask for citizenship, they get checked out once again. So the vetting process is already very strict, I feel.
Very strict.
And I feel that I'm the start of that.
Yeah.
So I turn down cases where I say, you're not going to be approved because of this and this in your past history. It's just not going to work. Unfortunately, we have to say no.
I mean, it's unfortunate with the U.S. False claim to U.S. citizenship. You may be. I had one guy who, he was here, overstayed, got a great job, big company, lied on the I-9.
Yep.
Then lied on the I-9 over and over again. Boy. Married to a U.S. citizen. Newlywed, really happy, done. Yeah. And I mean, I had to tell them, he could, the only way he could avoid that is like lying on the form, but there's no way you could advise a client to do that.
No. And we're signing off on those forms too.
Yeah.
So
we will not do that. And that's the thing. Like if a client lies to me, I'm done with you.
Yeah, it's in our contracts. If the client has provided information that
and sometimes if they tell me
false.
the truth, that means there's nothing that I can do for you.
Right.
You are...
Which is better than getting them arrested and deported.
Yeah.
And losing their law license.
At least they can know.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. It's not. I feel like. Yeah. There's our current laws are kind of crazy, but there's a lot in there after 9/11. There's a lot in there that is protecting U.S. U.S. citizens in the United States from immigrants. I think it's very few and far between that there are major criminal aliens coming in and murdering sprees. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying every immigrant is perfect, but just like any human being. But still, we're like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah. It's like, wow, we're missing out on all these wonderful people if we just have one or two bad. So I feel like it's a mindset thing.
It is.
Literally. And I feel like...
And we're going to be focused on that this year.
Changing my mindset, changing how I think about things has really changed, made me stronger. I'm not giving up on how I can, help going forward. Mm-hmm. Help employers, help hospitals that desperately need doctors. So it's quite interesting. But I picked two words for this year just to live by. And you said one of them, brave.
Yeah.
And then, so I've got a lot of big goals. I've got a lot of big challenges. I've got a lot of people to help. And that fear, I don't want to be fearless. That fear is still there, mm-hmm. and it motivates me, but I've got to be brave.
Yeah.
And the other one is believe. So I've just got to believe that I can do it. I've got to believe in the good. I've got to believe in people like Audra and believe in America. Because this is our heritage. We're fighting for America, guys. And I'm proud that I chose this as my profession. I know that a lot of people are like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I figured it out. Yeah. And I'm not done, but
it's been an amazing journey,
right? And I
love what I do, and I think you do too.
It's like looking back, and it was like even 9 years ago, looking back at when I was moving offices and like all the files, which mm-hmm. we had paper files, all those files, like, wow, I helped this many people.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to clean my drive out. I have closed files. I'm getting ready to go do that whole project I mean, it's going to be crazy because I'm going to be like, wow. And I'm going to take a moment and I'll be like, Elizabeth, and I may count. Look at all these people. How many lives you touched.
It can be a real downer these days.
Yes.
But we have to find those positive moments. And one takeaway that I'm going to do that Elizabeth just said is that we're going to savor the victories.
Yes.
When we get a green card approval, we're going to savor that. When we get a work card, when we have a happy client, a family that's brought back together, I'm going to savor that. So that may be one of my words.
And you are, and I hope you keep posting about all your victories. And
absolutely.
We're trying to do that too, but people need to hear.
I'm on Facebook a lot, and I want my clients to see that even though things are tough, watching the news is not the whole story.
Yes.
So come on to my Facebook page. Yeah. It's Doyle Law, ATL, in Facebook, and you will definitely see some positive stories, news about immigration, and what we're doing every day. So I am Audra Doyle. I'm one of our co-hosts for today, and I appreciate everyone listening in. And our host is
Elizabeth Garvish.
Fabulous.
I am the managing member of Garvish Immigration Law Group, and we serve clients worldwide doing business immigration law. So we really enjoyed speaking with you guys today. We'll be back next month. This is WCEG Network, WCEGTalkRadio.com. We speak life into the community. Have a great day, guys.